Ferrari has just revealed a two-race plan so aggressive, it could either rescue the championship or end the fight before Monza is over. First comes Zandvoort, where Ferrari is expected to introduce a new aerodynamic package on a 14-corner circuit built around downforce, balance, and absolute driver confidence. Then comes the real gamble. At Monza, Ferrari could unleash its second and final permitted engine upgrade of the season, centered on a redesigned turbocharger targeting stronger airflow, sharper throttle response, and improved energy recovery. And Ferrari desperately needs it. The team is estimated to be between 20 and 30 horsepower behind Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton trails championship leader Kimi Antonelli by 50 points, while Ferrari sits 72 points behind Mercedes in the constructors' battle. But here is the detail that makes this plan almost impossible. Zandvoort is a sprint weekend, giving Ferrari only 1 hour of practice to understand its new aerodynamic package before qualifying. Then, roughly 2 weeks later, the engine upgrade must survive Monza, where cars spend around 80% of the lap at full throttle. There is no safe place to hide. If the floor fails at Zandvoort, Ferrari loses the first weapon. If the turbocharger fails at Monza, the final engine opportunity is gone. Fred Vasseur is attacking two completely opposite circuits with two perfectly timed upgrades. Grip first, power second. And after Ferrari dominated Friday in Hungary, only to collapse to 4th and 5th on Sunday, the biggest threat may not be Mercedes. It may be Ferrari's ability to execute its own master plan when the pressure becomes unbearable. Subscribe to the channel. To understand why Ferrari is willing to take this risk, you have to go back to the weekend that exposed the entire problem. Hungary should have been the moment Ferrari proved it had finally caught Mercedes. On Friday, everything looked right. Charles Leclerc finished the first practice session at the top. Lewis Hamilton led the second. Ferrari had produced a 1-2 across the opening day, and for the first time in a long time, the car appeared capable of controlling the weekend rather than surviving it. The speed was real. The confidence was growing. And inside the garage, the possibility of a major breakthrough suddenly felt believable. But Fred Vasseur refused to celebrate. His message was simple. So far, so good. But it was only Friday. That caution was not empty. It was a warning. Because by Sunday, the Ferrari that had looked so convincing had almost disappeared. The car lacked consistency. The race execution began unraveling. Charles Leclerc finished 4th. Lewis Hamilton finished 5th after receiving a 5-second penalty for exceeding the pit lane speed limit by only 1/10 of a kilometer per hour. Max Verstappen passed Ferrari on the circuit. Pit stops cost positions by margins of only 2 or 3/10 of a second, and every small mistake began connecting with the next. One delay created pressure. That pressure created another compromise. Then another. By the end of the race, the team that had looked ready to challenge Mercedes was once again explaining why its speed had not produced the result. That is the real reason the Zandvoort and Monza plan matters. Ferrari does not simply need a faster car. Ferrari needs a car, a strategy group, a pit crew, and 2 drivers capable of delivering at the same time. Because speed without execution is only potential. And potential does not score enough points to win a championship. Vasseur admitted that Ferrari's pure pace in Hungary had improved. But he also said the execution was very poor. That distinction changes the entire story. The problem was not that Ferrari had nothing. The problem was that Ferrari could not hold everything together when Sunday became difficult. That is why the first stage of the new plan begins with aerodynamics. Zandvoort is expected to receive a new package, with attention focused on the floor and the way the car creates downforce. Downforce is the force that pushes the car toward the track. More useful downforce gives the tires more grip. That allows the driver to carry greater speed through corners. But the most valuable downforce is not simply the largest possible number. It is stable downforce. Downforce the driver can trust. Imagine walking down a staircase where one step changes height every time you use it. The staircase may still support your weight, But you would never move with complete confidence. You would slow down. You would test each step. You would protect yourself. A Formula One driver reacts in a similar way when the aerodynamic balance changes unexpectedly. The driver brakes earlier, turns more cautiously, waits longer before applying power. Each hesitation may be tiny. Across an entire lap, those moments become expensive. And this has been one of Ferrari's deepest problems. The car can appear strong in one condition, then become difficult to understand in another. Charles Leclerc described too many ups and downs during the Hungarian race. He also said the information did not always correlate clearly. That word, correlate, is critical. It means the car on the circuit is not always behaving the way Ferrari's simulations and predictions suggested it would. For engineers, that creates a nightmare. They can design a new part that looks faster inside a computer. The wind tunnel can show an improvement. The calculations can promise more grip. But when the car reaches the circuit, the driver may feel something different. The tires may react differently. The balance may move. The expected gain may appear in one corner and disappear in the next. And when the real car and the predicted car stop agreeing, development becomes slower. The engineers are no longer improving the machine. They are trying to understand which version of the truth they can trust. That is what Ferrari must solve at Zandvoort. Not simply whether the new floor creates more downforce, whether it creates predictable downforce, whether Hamilton and Leclerc feel the same improvement the simulations promised, whether the car behaves consistently as fuel levels change, whether the balance remains stable when the wind changes, whether the tires can stay inside the correct operating window. Those answers will determine whether the first half of Vasseur's plan is genuinely brilliant or only aggressive. And the circuit makes the challenge even harder. Zandvoort contains 14 corners. The track flows through the dunes. The banking changes how the forces move through the car. The racing line is narrow. And because overtaking can be difficult, qualifying becomes incredibly important. A car that starts near the front can protect its race. A car that starts deeper in the field may spend Sunday trapped behind slower traffic. That means Ferrari cannot wait until the race to understand the upgrade. It has to work almost immediately. And this is where the sprint format creates the greatest danger. Ferrari may have only 1 hour of practice before qualifying. 1 hour to confirm that the new floor works. 1 hour to understand ride height. 1 hour to study tire behavior. 1 hour to find the correct balance for both drivers. 1 hour to compare the real data with the simulations. After that, the decisions become far more difficult to reverse. There is no comfortable Friday filled with long experiments. There is no second full practice session to correct the first mistake. Ferrari has to arrive prepared. The team needs several possible setup directions before the car even leaves the garage. The engineers need to recognize unexpected behavior quickly. Hamilton and Leclerc need to communicate clearly. And Vasseur needs the entire group to avoid panic if the opening laps do not look perfect. That may be the most important test. Because a new aerodynamic package rarely delivers every answer immediately. The car may need a small adjustment. The drivers may disagree about the balance. One corner may expose a weakness that never appeared in simulation. Ferrari will have to decide whether that weakness is a genuine problem or simply part of the normal learning process. Choose incorrectly, and the team could abandon a useful direction too early. Wait too long, and qualifying could arrive before the problem is solved. This is not only an engineering challenge, it is a decision-making challenge. And Ferrari's recent history makes that pressure impossible to ignore. The team has already shown it can produce speed. The problem has been protecting that speed when circumstances change. A strategy interruption, a penalty, a slower pit stop, a balance shift, a tire that behaves differently from expectations. One disruption appears and the weekend begins moving away from Ferrari. Vasseurs' plan can only succeed if that pattern changes. At Zandvoort, Ferrari needs discipline. The team cannot chase every small fluctuation. It cannot rebuild the setup after every difficult lap. It needs to understand the purpose of the new package and judge it against clear targets. Is the front responding better? Is the rear remaining stable? Can the drivers attack the banking with more confidence? Are the tires reaching the correct temperature without overheating? Does the car behave predictably during both short and longer runs? These questions matter more than one headline lap time. A fast lap can be created by low fuel, favorable track conditions, or an aggressive tire program. A stable car reveals something deeper. It reveals whether Ferrari has built a platform that can survive the rest of the season. That is why the Zandvoort package could become more important than the result of the Dutch Grand Prix itself. If the floor works, Ferrari gains a new foundation. The engineers can begin developing from a car they understand. Hamilton and Leclerc can provide clearer feedback. Setup changes become easier to interpret. Tire behavior becomes more predictable. And the team can approach Monza without carrying the same uncertainty. But if the package fails, the damage spreads. Ferrari may lose performance at Zandvoort. The engineers may have to investigate the correlation problem again. The drivers may lose confidence, and the team could arrive at Monza still trying to understand the chassis, just as the final engine upgrade enters the car. That would place two major changes on top of one another. A new aerodynamic problem. A new turbocharger. A home race, a shrinking championship opportunity, and almost no time to separate one issue from another. That is why Vasseurs' sequencing matters so much. The plan only looks simple from the outside. Aerodynamics at Zandvoort, power at Monza. But the two upgrades are connected. The first must create clarity before the second creates more complexity. The new floor needs to stabilize the car. Then the redesigned turbocharger can attack Ferrari's power deficit. If the chassis remains unpredictable, extra engine performance may become harder to use. More power can place greater demand on traction. It can create more heat. It can change how the rear tires behave at corner exit. A stable car can absorb those changes. An unstable car can turn them into another source of confusion. So Zandvoort is not merely the first target. It is the foundation of the Monza attack. And this is where Lewis Hamilton becomes central. Hamilton is chasing Kimi Antonelli in the championship. The gap is 50 points. That is large enough to create urgency, but small enough to keep hope alive. However, hope will not survive many more weekends like Hungary. Hamilton needs a car that allows him to trust the opening phase of the lap. He needs predictable braking. He needs a rear end that remains calm. And he needs Ferrari to execute without allowing tiny mistakes to become major losses. At Zandvoort, that trust could decide qualifying. At Monza, it could decide whether the extra engine performance becomes usable. Because drivers do not experience an aerodynamic package and an engine upgrade as separate engineering projects. They experience one car, one response, one level of confidence. If the front turns and the rear follows, the driver attacks. If the power arrives smoothly, the driver accelerates earlier. If the brakes remain stable, the driver takes greater risk. That is how separate technical gains become one faster lap. And that is what Ferrari is trying to build. Not simply a stronger floor, not simply a better turbocharger, a complete machine that gives Hamilton and Leclerc fewer reasons to hesitate. But the championship does not offer unlimited time. Mercedes leads Ferrari by 72 points in the constructors' standings. Ferrari is also under pressure from behind, with McLaren moving closer. That means the team cannot spend several races slowly understanding its upgrades. The floor has to work quickly. The turbocharger has to deliver immediately. The pit crew has to avoid losing positions by fractions of a second. The drivers have to remain inside the limits. The strategy team has to make clear decisions under pressure. This is why calling the plan genius may be premature. The logic is intelligent. The timing is aggressive. The circuits have been chosen for clear reasons. Zandvoort rewards aerodynamic performance. Monza exposes engine strength. But Formula One does not reward the quality of the idea. It rewards the quality of the execution. And after Hungary, Ferrari knows exactly how painful that difference can be. The team left Friday believing it had a chance. It left Sunday with 4th, 5th, another penalty, more lost positions, and a larger championship gap.